Thank you for joining me today. I'm blessed that you have come back. We're going to start with 1 Peter 3, verses 18 through 20. So if you remember yesterday, we started looking at, did Jesus preach to souls in hell? And I have questions, and I'm good at asking questions, as you all know. And so to have it make sense, it has to line up with other scripture. And what we looked at yesterday was if this occurred, because that's the way I phrased it if. It couldn't have occurred after he was crucified and before he was resurrected, because that would make a bunch of other scriptures a lie. So if this occurred, it could have only occurred after he was resurrected. And I'm not certain necessarily that that's what that's referring to. This is not a hill I'm willing to die on. If you have comments, I would appreciate those. But I think this is referencing something else, because when we look at 1 Peter 3, 18 through 20, here is what it says. For Christ also suffered once for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive by the Spirit, by whom also he went and preached to the spirits in prison, who formerly were disobedient, who, when once the divine long-suffering waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is, 8 souls, were saved through water. So here's my question. If this is Jesus, then he's only preaching to some, and only those at that particular time in hell. And we know that hell is the state of being dead. We've looked at that. So to me, that doesn't seem right, that there would only be these people, the ones in the days of Noah, and Jesus would only be preaching to some, this particular time frame of people. I don't really buy that. I don't think that that makes sense. And then we also have the thief on the cross issue, because if you believe that Jesus died and ascended immediately to the Father, then when did he do this? So we've got that issue. Now, we've talked about this before in a little bit of an aside, that when the Bible was written, there was only capital letters, there was no punctuation and no vowels. So the scribe determined where the punctuation went. And with that sentence, today you will be with me in paradise, that could change based upon I tell you the truth today, period. We've talked about that. So there's inconsistencies here, and I don't think it necessarily means that. Now, what I think it's referring to is that same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead was also working in the time of Noah, because he's talking about Noah. Made alive by the Spirit. God's Spirit raised Jesus, but God's Spirit was also active at the time of Noah. So we're going to look at a couple of passages here in we're going to look at a couple of verses here in 2 Peter. This is chapter 2, verse 5, and I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll go to 1 Peter chapter 1. But in 2 Peter 2, verse 5, here is what it says. And did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly. So Noah's preaching righteousness, and we know, obviously, that Noah had been chosen by God to save mankind, and we know that Noah was undoubtedly preaching, because it says preacher of righteousness. So I think this is referencing really God's Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, that was also present at the time of Noah. And then let's go to 1 Peter 1, verses 10 and 11, and here is what it says. Of this salvation the prophets have inquired and searched carefully, who prophesied of the grace that would come to you, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ, who was in them, was indicating when he testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glories that would follow. So again, it's talking about this Spirit of Christ. And so to me, this makes more sense than thinking that this was Jesus. This is not a hill I'm willing to die on. I think this definitely requires some more study. If you've got comments, of course, I would love them and I would appreciate them. I share with you the knowledge that I have. If there's something that I don't know, I'm not afraid to say. And in this case, this is something where it's not a hill I'm willing to die on, but I don't think it makes sense given those questions. And you all know I'm really good at asking questions. And if we can't answer out of the scriptures, I don't want to assume that. And I know we've been taught that. I was taught that as well. But in looking at the scriptures, I think there's inconsistencies if we assume that it's that. Armor Up, we write at Dawn. May God bless you as always. Have a great day.